Hello, it's Victor Dedaj. I hope you're having an amazing day. So for today, I want to talk about Napoleon Hill's classic book, Think and Grow Rich, and chapter 2 of that book, which is Desire. Now, Hill starts off by saying desire is the starting point of all achievement. And he talks about Edwin C. Barnes, who we saw in the first chapter. Barnes was the guy who went to see Thomas Edison and said he came to have a business association, a business partnership with Edison. He wanted to work with Edison, not for Edison. And he says that Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal. He placed all his energy, all his willpower, all his effort, everything in back of that goal. He says in the next page, he did not go to Orange and say to himself, I will try to induce Edison to give me a job of some sort. Instead, he said, I will see Edison and put him on notice that I've come to go into business with him. He did not say, I'll keep my eyes open for another opportunity. Instead, he said, there is but one thing in this world that I am determined to have, and that is a business association with Thomas Edison. I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want. He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or to perish. That is all there is to the Barnes story of success. So he burned all bridges, and then he had to succeed. There was no other alternative for him. He burned all the bridges behind him, and as a result, he had that great desire. He succeeded. And Napoleon shares a story about how a long time ago, a great warrior faced a situation which made it necessary for him to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. He's about to send his armies against another army that was much greater in number, much bigger than his own army. And he loaded his soldiers into boats, sailed to the enemy's country, unloaded soldiers and equipment, and they gave the order to burn the ships. And he addressed his men before the battle. He says, you see the boats going up in smoke? That means we cannot leave these shores unless we win. Either we win or we perish. And guess what? They won. They burned all the bridges. They burned the ships. They had no choice. They either had to win or they would perish. And because they had no other alternative, they won the battle. So the point of this is you need to sometimes burn all your bridges and focus on the thing you need to get and you want to get. That's what this great warrior did. That's what Edwin C. Barnes did. If you're able to do that, your odds of succeeding are much greater. Napoleon Hill goes on to say, wishing will not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches and backing those plans with persistence, which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. And then Napoleon goes to share 6 ways to turn desire into gold. The first is to fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient to merely say, I want plenty of money, but you need to say the definite amount. Now, the reason for this is because your subconscious mind does not understand, I want plenty of money or I want more money. Vague results, vague goals will give you vague results. You need to have a definite amount. So you need to tell your subconscious mind, I want $5,000, $10,000, $100,000, whatever the amount. It has to be a definite amount, and you need to make that clear to subconscious mind. If you say something vague like I want more money, it's not going to do anything. It needs a definite amount. Second step, he says, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. He says there is no such reality as something for nothing. You have to give something of value in return for the money that you want. Third step, establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. You need to have a due date, a deadline date. People always work better with deadline dates. You notice that when you at your job, when you have a deadline, you have to finish a project, something for your boss by the end of the week, you get it done. And your subconscious might need a date to get this thing done. So you have to say, I will have this done by December 31st, by the end of this year, at 6 p.m. It needs to know the exact date, because if you don't give your subconscious mind a certain date, it won't know what to work off of. So you need to let your subconscious mind know, 6 months from today, I'm going to get this amount of money made. So remember, be definite with the date that you have. You need to set a deadline goal for your subconscious mind. Next, he says, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not to put this plan into action. So create a definite plan and just get started on it. Don't wait to figure everything out. Get started, start working on the plan. And as you go along, you'll make tweaks, you'll make adjustments, and you'll get things done. If you never get started, nothing will ever get done. Fifth, he says, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire, name the time limit for its acquisition, state what you intend to give a return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. And six, he says, read your written statement aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night and once after rising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. Now, this is very important. Now, I believe the reason he says do it, read your statement aloud first thing in the morning and right before you go to bed is because your subconscious mind is most impressionable right when you wake up, when it's in its theta state, and right before you go to bed. So if you read your statement out aloud and see yourself and believe yourself actually being in possession of the money, and it's got to be done with feeling. If you don't do it with feeling, nothing's going to change. It won't make any kind of impression in your subconscious mind. So make sure you read the statement out aloud first thing in the morning, right before you go to bed, and see yourself, visualize yourself, and say it with feeling like you actually believe it. Because if you do it consistently, you're much more likely to achieve it. So very important, say it with feeling. And he goes on to say, but the successful application of these 6 steps does call for sufficient imagination to enable one to see and to understand that accumulation of money cannot be left to chance or good fortune and luck. Good fortune and luck will not bring you these riches. He says one must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired the money. And then he goes on to share certain examples of people who desired great things, and because they burned their bridges, they had that great desire, they wanted to do it, they succeeded in achieving their goals. The first one he gives is Thomas Edison, who failed 10,000 times before he invented the lamp. He talks about the Wright brothers, who dreamed of a machine that would fly through the air. And we see the evidence. There are airplanes all over the world flying because the Wright brothers had that desire to have a machine that would fly through the air. And he gives the example of Helen Keller, who was born deaf, dumb, and blind shortly after birth. Despite her great misfortune, she has written her name indelibly in the pages of history of the great. Her entire life has served as evidence that no one is defeated until defeat has been accepted as reality. She did great things, even though she was born deaf, dumb, and blind. And then finally, he shares a story of his son, who was born without ears, but he planted in his son the desire to hear and to talk. And eventually, after many years, he came across this hearing machine that allowed him to hear, and he was so overjoyed. He wrote the company telling the company how happy he was to hear and how he loved this hearing machine. The company invited him over. He came up with this plan of how to sell this hearing aid, and they came up with a plan. They worked together, and he wound up selling the machine that made such a big difference in his life. And he started sharing that with other people and planting the desire in other people they could hear as well. So he refused to accept that his son, who had no ears, could never hear. Even though it took many years, eventually a machine was invented that could help his son to hear. And his son, because he had this desire implanted in him by his father, Napoleon Hill, was able to share that with many other people across the nation, and they were able to hear as a result of this great desire of his son. So remember, the starting point of all achievement is desire. Your desire has to be great, that you want to achieve great things and you want to be successful. If you have that desire, if you burn all your bridges, you have that definite concrete plan, and you follow through on that. You read that statement out loud, first thing in the morning and last thing at night, and you are consistent with it, you can achieve great things. So those are my tips for today. I hope you got a lot of value. If you did, please subscribe to my channel below. This is Victor Dedaj signing off. Have yourself an amazing day. Take care.